And not really TVS Sri Chakra, but earnings and the impact on the markets is something that we'll talk with Balasubramanian now. He's the CEO at Birla Sun Life AMC, and he joins us right now on the show to talk about his sense of the markets. Bala, really good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. Before we talk about all of that, I don't know what you've done respectively for your fund, but of late, the last 15-20 sessions, I've seen that there has been quite a bit of selling from DIIs as well. Are you as well on the profit booking or redemption mode right now, or you as a fund are bullish and therefore continue with your positive stance?
Yeah, I think morning. I think interestingly, I think our fund houses have been receiving money in the last more than about 6 to 8 months time frame, and we see actually the daily inflows coming in across all our products. So many times I think the question of selling may not even arise. Again the question is how actually the portfolio is being constructed, keeping in mind the flow that is coming in, keeping in mind the allocation which one need to have into different sectors and different stocks and all point of time. Maybe some of the the selling could happen. Potentially is more to actually to have more winners in the portfolio at the cost of somebody I think who has not been performing to generate return in the portfolio. But otherwise, broadly, I would also assume that the mutual fund industry as a whole have only been receiving money from retail investors. There has been a good amount of participation has been seen since June, July, August, September, even for the month of October. The industry only has seen actually net equity inflows into the mutual fund schemes. So I would assume if you look at the numbers, only the mutual funds, I would assume the mutual funds would have only be a net buyer including Birla Sun Life mutual fund.
Bala, so I mean, are the valuations looking rich or right to you currently in the market, and where else are you deploying? Because a lot of parts of the market have already run up a lot, and we are sitting at lifetime highs on the indices and fresh yearly highs for most of the stock prices too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. There's one side there is a bullish view that is emerging for like next 3 or 4 years or 5 years kind of time frame. At the same time, the valuations have always been a point of debate across all periods, not just only in the current market conditions, but all point of times, of course, we keep discussing about the valuations. But also is a time of results where if you also look at the result season, there has been a good mixed result that is coming in. There are some, of course, not that great. There are certain companies have done exceedingly well, given the fact they could generate volume actually in the first 3 or 4 months time frame, or maybe the first 6 months of the current financial year. I think coming to the evaluations, we have always discovered over a period of the experience what we have built, the valuation is not a concern, especially in a market where the outlook is relatively certain, and the expectation of growth coming back is far higher than what we would have seen in the last few years. As long as these two things are there, and as a result of that, though the companies may not be able to perform either this quarter or 2 quarters or maybe the whole of next 6 months, but I think given the fact that the longer term outlook continues to remain very strong, the valuation is always something which I think one need to ignore. And wherever we have taken actually a valuation call on good companies and actually having divested, we only realized that good companies trading at a good valuations or maybe costly valuations at the same time giving you such kind of stocks, getting them back in the portfolios as part of your core portfolios have always been extremely difficult if you take call only on the basis of the valuations. I think that's the point which I think just wanted to drive. At the same time, there are many companies which are of course considered to be undervalued, but the balance sheet is stretched and the balance sheet is yet to undergo a major change when it comes to the question of restructuring their whole capital allocations between the debt and equity. These are the companies continue to underperform. At the same time, they may find actually the stocks relatively cheaper. I think that's the dilemma which always there for portfolio managers. I would assume even the current scenarios, the same dilemma remains. But at the end of the day, as long as the outlook remains good, our view is we should not worry too much about the valuation.
Bala, we will talk about what would you be doing in such a dilemma. Stay tuned. We'll just take a very quick break with the Nifty marginally in the red. Come back and continue our discussion with Bala. Okay, welcome back to First Trades, and we're of course looking at the markets which have flattened out completely in the session today, so no great moves there. By the way, this is Arun Jaitley taking charge of the INB ministry as well. So finance minister, now relieved of the defense portfolio, takes charge of the INB ministry, and that'll be very interesting as well. Remember, it's probably close to his heart as well. He's had strong opinions on how this should move ahead as well. So watch out, the finance minister taking charge of the INB ministry. I think he's just about to starting comment. Let's cut across. Okay, I think, yeah, let's cut across.
जावड़ेकर जी पिछले कुछ महीनों से सूचना और प्रसारण मंत्रालय में बहुत परिश्रम से इसको नेतृत्व दे रहे थे। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने मुझे इस विभाग की एक जिम्मेवारी दी है और इसमें मेरे सहयोगी रहेंगे श्री राजवर्धन सिंह राठौर और स्वाभाविक है कि वित्त मंत्रालय के अतिरिक्त मैं कुछ समय रोज यहां पर दिया करूंगा। ये एक प्रमुख विभाग है जिसमें माध्यम से भारत सरकार की जो कम्युनिकेशन है, हर मंत्रालय की कम्युनिकेशन है, वो इस विभाग के माध्यम द्वारा होती है। इसके अतिरिक्त आज मीडिया का जगत बहुत विस्तृत हो गया है। मैं पहले भी इस विभाग में रहा हूं, तब प्रिंट मीडिया ज्यादा था, थोड़ा सा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया था, लेकिन आज रेडियो का बहुत विस्तार हुआ है, डिजिटल मीडिया का बहुत विस्तार हुआ है। और एक जमाना था कि
That's of course the finance minister and now the INB minister as well, Mr. Arun Jaitley. By the way, Hero, or rather Sun Pharma is at the high point of the day, 3.5%. So maybe the Taro numbers, or maybe just the pharma mood is having the stock up further. And Bala, that was going to be my next question to you any which ways. You spoke about the dilemma that exists for a portfolio manager, what to buy and what not to. What do you do with pharma? Because the stocks are certainly not cheap, but the earnings are showing, the good numbers from global subsidiaries as well are turning out very well, as is the case with Sun Pharma. What do you do here?
I think precisely, I think you hit the nail on the head on this. We were discussing especially on pharma as a sector, what one should do. I think given the fact that the valuation may be of course perceived to be a little high, and also given the fact that the ability of these companies actually to deliver consistently greater than 20-25% kind of rate of growth, both in the top line as well as the bottom line, and continue to maintain high margin, and is something which I think one cannot ignore when it comes to the question of valuations. And secondly, these are the companies just not operating only in India, they are operating in global space. And when they are operating in global space, the opportunity of course need not come actually every year, but the opportunities could come maybe out of every 3-5 year cycle, maybe in 1 year, 1.5 years or 2 years, they may get actually significant benefit of the exploration in terms of the new product idea that could come. And these are some of the things which I think also drive these kind of companies' valuations. I think as you rightly put it, the valuation of course yes may look a little costly, but given the fact that some of these companies actually have got a lot of money being spent on continuous innovations, and those innovations could potentially act as a big booster of both in top line as well as the bottom line when it comes to the question of discovery of new products and adapting to the new market and the pricing style, etc. And that's why I think is something which one need to hold on to the some of these companies, and that's I think as even as a fund house we do have certain kind of core holding in our portfolio which we don't generally touch it just because the valuation is costly. And having said that, the question is what kind of exposure one need to have, whether you need to have underweight or overweight. But given the fact the index has got only about 3 or 3.5% weight actually towards pharmaceutical sectors, and only about 5 to 6% weightage in the sectors, which is overweight to actually the index weight, but in relation to the market could be an underweight. At the same time, it's being part of the core portfolio is something one need to look at. And these way actually we try and actually address some of the dilemmas which we have, especially when it comes to the question of valuations, but coming from good company can generate huge wealth for the shareholders over a longer period of time.
Bala, so good speaking with you. Thanks for taking time out and speaking with us today on ETNA. That's the view from me, Balasubramanian, CEO at Birla Sun Life AMC, chatting with us live. Take a look at what the market is up to.